Well, a trick for you authors, if your books are published through Amazon and you add something to the cart at the same time as the author copies you're ordering, sometimes they all come in one box, which is what happened with this copy of Reign of Fire, because it's a great comp to my book. So I was like, hey, I need this on my movie shelf because I love this movie, but also I can use it potentially for advertising because this is a comp to my book, Paragon Exordium. So I'm going to talk a little bit today while I inspect these new author copies about some of the wonderful things that have happened in the last 24 hours. That's a nice crease right there. That's excellent. So you got to inspect copies when they come in to make sure they're functional and there's no major issues with them. Because the last thing I want is to send out a signed copy to someone and it be flawed in any way. So in the last 24 hours, some really crazy fun things have happened beyond just indie author March Madness, which is cool. You should go check out ID Marie if you haven't, and her page, because that's something she does to help promote indie authors. But yesterday I sold 10 signed copies of my book. I thought it was 9, it turned out to be 10, which is just so exciting because those 10 count in royalties terms for like 40 copies sold on Amazon. So that's just super exciting and super cool. And we got these copies in that I'm going to inspect while I talk. That was like the whole point. Let's set this one to the side because you can see might not bother most people, but it bothers me a little bit. Any flaw at all, no matter how small, tends to bother me a little bit. On top of the signed copy thing, I was given the opportunity to make a list of indie authors for a new bookstore opening up that a friend of mine is opening up in Texas. And I think that's really cool. She reached out to me to get some of my books in her bookstore, even though my books aren't really following the standard rules on Ingram Spark that allow you into bookstores, because I'm not going to risk the cost of return stuff. But she and I worked something out, and I sent her some author copies directly. And so I got to put together a list of over 20 different authors I recommended for her to pick up for her store as indie authors that I felt like deserved a little extra recognition or would be really good for her store and stuff. So if any of you get a message from Sydney, that's probably why, because I put your name on a list for her, and I'll probably be sending her more in the near future as the bookstore opens. That could take a while, because it's a store and things take time. It's not going to happen overnight. Also, we did a third round test of our board game, the Paragon Survival board game today, which was a success. People playing had fun, which is important, and it felt functional, which is also important. Each time we play, some fun world building stuff happens, some stuff within the context of world building or within the context of the story that I find amusing and other people who know the story might find amusing. So one of the first things that happened was Haunch the dog, who's a playable character, got a battle axe and went 1v1 with a giant boar and beat the giant boar as a dog with a battle axe. And that's just fun board game stuff. Like, that's hilarious. Second funny thing that happened was Peter recruited Leordu to his team. Peter's also a playable character, one of the main characters. That's him right there. He recruited Leordu, who is a tree person or a dryad, and Peter ended up armed with a chainsaw, and they tore through some bandits. And I found that particularly amusing that the pair of them used a chainsaw to get through some bandits, considering she's a person made of tree. She's a living tree person. The third funny thing that happened was Sarah, one of our other main characters, who's a playable character in the game, along with Haunch, who at this point was now wearing full plate mail in addition to his battle axe. And Sarah was in an electric vehicle with a machine gun, and the two of them ran down some unicorns and corralled some unicorns. And I think that's hilarious, and the test went really well. And like I said, everyone who played it had fun and it functioned. It just needs balancing and adjustments to make it optimal. And so, yeah, that's the whole rundown there. Yeah, as the elves in my books say, Lumeni, which means may you walk under blue skies.